Guys, big filming day today. I know you've seen this shirt a lot in the last few videos. Today we're going to talk about knife locks, and to be more accurate, we're going to talk about ambidextrous knife locks because there's a lot of knives on the market, but the majority of your frame and liner locks are built for right-handed people. So we're going to look at 5 locks that can be used right or left-handed, and they're all really good. So let's turn this around and take a look at it from above. All right, guys, before we look at them, just so you can see what I'm talking about, these are both right-handed, a frame lock and a liner lock. And you can see if you're right-handed, it's fine. There's no real problem and you can push that axis. If you're left-handed, then you start having some problems where you're in an awkward position and the knife does not function the way you want. But there is a lot available if you are wrong-handed. So let's look at the first one, which is a ring lock. And a ring lock is a very old lock mechanism. It works a lot like the next lock we're going to talk about. This is the oldest. And it simply is a ratcheting lock. It's got a little window here that this high spot sticks up. And when you pull back on this, it relieves the spring tension that holds that in place. This has a little ratchet in it. So you can do this left-handed or right-handed. It doesn't matter which handed you are. The ring lock is, like I said, a very old mechanism. It is a super strong lock as well. This is the cold steel Kudu, which is a very cheap knife, but I have really tested this lock. You can see how it pinches down in there. Really similar to, like I said, the rocker lock, which is the next one, but you can do this right or left-handed. You don't have to be, it does feel different for me, but yeah, you can manipulate it either way. It's still a really, really strong lock, and you don't have to worry about reaching across the blade. It's actually a safe lock, and as most of these knives, you're not crossing the travel of that blade like you are on the more modern locks. The ring lock has been around for a very long time. The Kudu is a variant or a copy of a knife that's available in South Africa that Lynn Thompson saw one time when he was hunting. And he basically just copied this, this ring lock style. But like I said, they've been around a long, and very, very good lock if you're not looking for something that is easy to carry, because the ring does get in the way. There are different versions of these that you can get, but awesome in the fact that you can use it either way, and it's a very stable, very strong lock. I absolutely love this ring lock, even though it does have this piece here. I find I can use it as a guard. I can get a hold of it and I can grip on it. It doesn't bother me at all. The only thing I wish this one had is a pocket clip, but there you go. A really good option for like a work knife, especially if you're doing construction and you need a left or right-handed knife for ambidextrous opening and closing. So let's move on to the next one, which is a much more modern lock. And it is the back lock, which is really similar to the ring lock we just saw. You saw how you lift it up and you had that opening. Well, they're really similar. This I know is a triad lock, but for all intents and purposes, it's just a modified back or rocker lock. And these, it's really easy to demonstrate on this because the triad lock is so pronounced. But you can see there's a deep cut in this blade tang here. And then there is a key or notch that's on this that will drop down in it. And when you open this up, you can see how that lifts up. And it rocks up and then it drops down. And then when you push on this, it rocks up, hence rocker lock or back lock because it's on the back of the knife. But as you can see, absolutely ambidextrous because you're not having to manipulate anything here. And once again, very safe because when you do this to close it, you've got perfect control of this blade because you're doing a two-hand closing mechanism. On this one, you don't have that extra pin, but it's the same. It's a little slot in here, and you can see lifts up and then drops in, and it's very similar to that ring lock in the way it works, but instead of needing to pull up on it with the ring, you've got this back here, and there's a pivot point, and it just rockers. You push on that, and it lifts up. There's a spring in here that holds it, but these are very, very good locks. Really sturdy, really a lock that is going to hold up to a lot of riggers. Most of the knives I carried when I was younger all had this style lock. Spyderco makes some of the best ones. Cold steel triad lock, like I said, probably the strongest lock on the market with the addition of this. I would say a close second would be a compression lock, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, incredible locks. And the fact is, they can be done so that they're super smooth. I've seen several of these that you can do like a flipper. This one's a little tight, hasn't broken in completely, but you can absolutely deploy this knife right or left-handed. As indicated on this, you've got all these points where you can carry this ambidextrous. So this is a great lock. It's one of the older locks that's out there. Some of them have been modernized, like I said here, but there's some companies that are doing a really good job with their rocker or back locks. So let's move on to the next one. And it's my personal favorite of this group, and it is the compression lock. Now, there's different versions of this. This is a regular compression lock. I put a CME on this, but it's great. The action on them are always really good. This one is a button compression lock. This one is a Vosteed. This is the Chaos. You can see the action on it. You get this. You get that snappy action like you want on a flipper knife that usually you would have a frame lock, but you've got the lock out here. Now the button on this one's on this side. The button for this one is on this side. These are basically, this is like a left-handed compression lock, but they are absolutely, oops, sorry, didn't get pushed in on it. Absolutely easy to manipulate it, right or left-handed. It is 100% ambidextrous, and they are super strong. Compression lock, one of the strongest locks on the market, and the fact it is ambidextrous is even cooler. The reason it's so strong is this arm drops into that slot. This the actual lock arm, that when it comes over, it drops into that slot. So now your actual lock bar is pinched in between the blade and this pin. So there is no way, short of breaking the face off of this lock bar or this pin, or the face off of that lock face off of that knife, you're not going to get this to fail. They are absolutely incredible. You get the benefits of the snappy action of a frame lock with the safety of a lock that you don't have to cross across it. It's ambidextrous. They are just great locks. They are some of the most fidgety and fun ones. You can actually add these CMEs, which makes it feel more like this than it does originally, and it gives you a little bit more to grab a hold of. But even without it, just a great and robust lock that you can manipulate right or left-handed. So there you go, compression lock. Let's move on to the next one, and it's the crossbar or access style lock. Now you will see that there's not a Benchmade up here because both of these knives are way better than Benchmades. So crossbar lock, really simple. There's a couple springs on this one. There's a couple springs, one on each side. You pull back on that spring and the bar moves, and that allows you to pull it up. Now that bar is going to drop in, and you've got a very, very strong lock, similar to what you see with the compression lock, but without the piece covering up here. So there's a lot of travel that you've got a huge amount of coverage where that blade travels in. It would take a lot to make this knife fail. Ambidextrous because the lock mechanisms on both sides. This one is the better version of a crossbar lock. Because the plunger is dead center in the middle, so you don't have to worry about, now this is something that has been commonplace with the access locks, is if you do it from one side to the other, you actually compress one of these springs, the springs get weak, you can have one break, and then you don't have to worry about that on this one, because when one of these breaks, you got to replace that spring. This is a plunger style, so you can manipulate it one-handed if you want. It's not going to affect it. It slides straight back, and it's very, very strong. You can see how far that travels in, and it still has room for travel, so this lock will not get play and things like that. It'll allow it to travel in further. But yeah, really, really good. Another lock that does not have you going across the travel of the blade. You can manipulate the knife with the thumb studs. You can just pull the tension off of it and just let it swing open. These are not going to be as snappy as other knives. It's hard to find an access lock flipper because a lot of times just the action's a lot softer. So more times than not, you're gonna be slow rolling it. But like I said, just that right there, you can wrist flick it. So access lock, awesome ambidextrous lock. They are super strong. These are up there. I think these are probably way up there with the compression lock as far as my favorites. So let's go ahead and move on to the last lock mechanism, and it's the button lock or plunger lock. Now this one looks a little different, but it's still basically the same thing. A button lock or plunger lock is just that. It's a lock that's in the button. So you push that plunger down and it allows it to slide out of the way. Button locks can be done with enough snap to be flippers like this. Absolutely. They are ambidextrous because you can absolutely just push that button. As a matter of fact, I like a left-handed button lock. I have a friend that has a couple. It just feels more natural. You're pushing in on it. As a matter of, that's what the compression lock feels like to me, is a left-handed button lock. This one is a pivot lock. So it's in there and you push down. Basically same mechanism, it's just incorporated in the pivot. So you've got that, and like I said, another nice thing. You're never traveling across, you're never passing across the travel of that blade, and it is easy to manipulate left or right-handed. You don't have to worry about, am I putting pressure on the lock bar, which is something I didn't mention before. Left-handed people have a tendency that they'll get on it and then they push on that lock bar with their thumb, and it prevents them from being able to actuate the knife. These are great. The reason I saved them for last is you got to be careful with button locks. Button locks have not been the best over the years. Like, there's a lot of companies that were making them, and either they were incredibly expensive or they were just cheaply done. So you never got really good budget ones. But there's a lot of companies now that are doing great budget locks. You can get these budget button locks. Geez, my English words are hard. You can get these in budget knives now, and they're done incredibly well. This is the Kaiser Begleiter XL. This is the Terra Money Knives warning button. You know, there's companies like We and Civivi that have been making some. Fair & Forge Knife Works is doing all of their knives in button locks now. They're going to be starting to do that. CJRB, some of the best button lock. As a matter of fact, I've got one sitting here that was my knife of the year. Some of the best button locks you're going to find. Just amazing that they're getting the quality button locks out there at a budget price. So there you go, guys. That was 5 ambidextrous locks that are good, that are a good fit for everyone. So let's turn this around and do some final thoughts and send you out about your day. There you go, guys. A couple of these locks, I mean, the most of the locks you saw are some of my favorite locks, period. I think my favorite out of the batch is the compression lock, because you, like I said, you can get that snappy action like you get on a liner lock or a frame lock, but still have that button lock feature to it, and then followed shortly by a good access style lock, the crossbar lock, like what's on this amphibian from Microtech. Just great locks. They serve the purpose. They're really stable. They're really strong. Some of the strongest locks you'll ever see have just been covered on this. So guys, that's it on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please drop a like, share, subscribe, do all those things, hit the bell icon, but you can also support the channel by using my affiliate links down below. I've mentioned a few times this channel is self-sponsored. I have got a bunch of affiliate links down below. They don't cost you anything at checkout, but they definitely do support the channel, especially at Amazon store, because you can do anything through the Amazon store you want. You can just take that link, pin it to your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping, and I get a little bit of it every time. I also have a couple links down below that have coupons built in. There's like a discount built in. That's Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail. Coffee Brand Coffee, excellent coffee, money back guarantee, some of the best coffee you're going to get. It is roasted on demand. I'm not going to get into that further. And then Tempered Trail, my buddy Nathan is making handmade, hand-stitched wallets. He made a beautiful bag for my daughter. He also does incredibly strong shoelaces. I've got a coupon code of crazysharp, all one word, that will save you 10% at Fair & Forge Knife Works, Rosecraft Blades, and KATSU Knives. And I've got a membership if you guys want to check that out, if you want to support the channel that way. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.